Hi everybody, Karen Trolfa here with Stampers Club. Thanks for joining me today. Our project for the day is going to be a really cute little fun card, just something simple to send to somebody. And I'm going to be using one of the free sets that are in this year's celebration sale from Stampin' Up. It's January of 2022, so the sale runs for 2 months. And let me show you the set that we're going to be using. So we're going to be using this Awesome Otters stamp set. And this is free with a $50 purchase. In fact, for every $50 purchase, you're able to select an item out of the celebration brochure that's available during January and February of 2022. Now, there's a multitude of items. There's stamp sets. There's designer paper, which is absolutely beautiful. More designer paper. This is the Otter Set. And look at this fun rainbow. This matches one of the new stamp sets. So a lot of the things in here also coordinate with other items in the catalog, like these daffodils. These elements are actually cut with some of the dies that are in there. So this is just a fun way to get some really cool free product. We all love things that are free, right? So today I'm also going to be partnering this with the Beautiful Shapes dies. This is another new die set. And we have these really little fun shapes here. But some of these actually have like embossing and cutting at the same time. So they have, you cut out the shape, but it has these fun little embossing lines on them. I know it's kind of hard to tell. See if I can get that up closer so you can kind of see that there's embossing lines in there. So those aren't going to cut. They're going to just give you a little bit more detail in your paper. I'm actually going to be using this circle one. So let me pop this aside. And then the supplies that we're going to be using, cardstock, is just a sheet of 8.5 by 11 basic white. This is the thick cardstock. I did score it at 4 1/4 and then folded it in half. The thick cardstock, it's best if you pre-score it. You know me, I don't normally score it first. I just fold it in half. But with the thick, it tends to crack a little bit when you do that. So if you give it that little bit of a pre-score, you prevent some of that cracking. I'm also going to be using a piece of Whisper White or basic white cardstock that is 3 3/4 by 5 inches. I have a scrap piece of Whisper White. I have some of this really pretty, subtle, very subtle blue glimmer paper. So this is a new product also, and it comes in a package with 2 sheets. One is this pretty blue, and the other is this really vibrant pink. I mean, that's got to be really fun. That would be really cool on those rainbows. Do some glimmer rainbows. And then I also have just a 5-inch by, looks like 1 1/4 of the designer series paper. Now, this is actually part of the Valentine designer paper called Sweet Talk. And that actually, you know, it's not just for Valentine's Day. Of course, you can get some Valentine, you know, definite hearts, Valentine images out of it. But look how we have the back side. Some of them are just plain. So you can use these other reverse sides to have just some basic patterns so that you're not just using hearts. So this is makes better use of your designer paper if you want to buy those fun colors for Valentine's Day, but yet be able to use your paper throughout the year. So the back side, the flip side, gives you a lot nicer of an overall selection. So what we're going to use here today is I'm going to take the scrap piece of Whisper White cardstock, and I'm going to use the little otter image where he's, you know, in the water. Whoops. And I'm using black memento because we are going to be using Stampin' Blends today. Get that cut. Get that out of the way. So I'm going to cut this out. Get my little mini Stampin' Cut machine here. I love this little mini since it fits on my table nice. It's just most of the dies fit through it, so you really don't have to have the big machine out all the time. Now, this isn't a perfect circle on the inside, so you know you can kind of twist this around to see where and how you want your image to really, really show up in there, because it's a little bit of an odd shape. It does cut a circle, but you get different images along it. So I'm just gonna do that, get that cut. Cranks through really nice too. All right, get that out of there. All right, so I know the camera, it's really hard to see, but you have these little images right here, the little embossing going on. So you get like a nice little subtle, oh, that's sort of fun on your card, right? So it gives you just a little bit more texture. Move that out of the way. And then we're going to color this. And I am using the light and dark balmy blue, light and dark pool party, and the light and dark petal pink. And I'm going to start from the center of my project. I'm going to use the dark petal pink. And I'm just going to get some outlining going on. This is the dark, right? Nope, this is the light. Apparently I can't read. They're both lights. How did I mix that up? With multiples, obviously. So here's the dark. Sorry about that. This is the dark petal pink. And I'm just going to kind of go and do an outline here. And then I'm going to use the light to fill in the center. So we have a little bit of a high-low going on here. All right, and then I'm going to use the pool party, and I'm going to start with the dark again. And I'm going to just color in these little drops. I want these to be a little darker. And then I'm going to use the actual stamp design to give me places to put these shadows. I'm just going to use the stamped image because, you know, it works for us. Let's use it. That's what makes this so easy, is when you have somebody else do the hard design work for you, right? And then I'm going to use the light pool party. And I'm just going to add, you know, just add it in and color in the rest of the water. It's going to pull in some of the dark and blend it together. That's why they're called blends. I'm going to run this down here and get some more water in our image and go around here too. And you can do this in circles. You can do it back and forth. And you kind of blend those lines away. So when you do that, any lines that you actually drew, if you do a little bit of a circle, it kind of makes it disappear. I want to add a little bit more color down here. Just get a little dots like that. It was just a little too light, and then I'll blend that around. I have black on my hands. Look, I'm getting black on my card image. That's not good, is it? All right, and then the balmy blue, I'm going to do the same thing. Actually, I'm going to start with the light on this one. So I just want to make some sky, basically, back here. I'm going to get a little bit there. And then I want to do the same thing here. I just want to add some dark areas just so it looks a little bit shaded. And I'll just use circle image, you know, little circle motions to kind of bleed that out. And I'm going to bring it all the way out here. And I'm just kind of staying within the circle of the image, you know, the shape here. Oh, it looks lucky with that little bit of black on there, doesn't it? All right. So there's our image for that guy. And then I also need crumb cake, light and dark crumb cake, to actually color our otter in. And I'm going to use, again, I'm going to start with my dark. And I'm just going to go around the perimeter, color in his nose a little darker. His ears, his hair, and I'm going to add a little bit of darkness kind of around his eyes. That'll help me give me some shading there. All right, and then the light, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to kind of pull that color in from the edges and soften that outline that I made. And I'm using just little small circles. Go around his eyes like that so we don't color his eyes in. I don't think he needs brown. Well, I guess he could have brown eyes, but it's a little better when they're left a little white so that you can see a little contrast. All right, so that softened the colors up there. All right, so that's the blends. We'll set those aside. And we'll start building our card here. We got some of our elements made. So this extra piece of white cardstock that is 5 by 3 3/4, I want to emboss part of it with a little bit of splatter. So it looks like the water's kind of splattering. And I'm going to use the embossing folder. This comes in a 2-pack. You get stripes and splatters. And it is a little bit narrower so that they would fit in the mini machine, but I think my paper is too wide for that. So I'm going to have to get the big machine out. And I'm just going to do the top half of this. Okay, let me get my Stampin' Cup machine. And when you do this, the machine, as you know, or maybe you don't know, comes with multiple plates. It has a base plate, a spacer plate, 2 clear plates, and an impression plate. And since we're using embossing and it's a 3D folder, we're going to eliminate the spacer plate and the clear plates. We're going to eliminate those, and we're only going to be using the impression plate, which is plate number 4. So I'm going to put that right on there, and always put your plate over your folder. If you put your folder on top, you're going to stretch and warp your folder. So you want to make sure that the folder is sandwiched between so that you don't damage the folder. You also want to put it in hinge side first. That helps make your folders last longer when you do hinge side in. It does less stretching on it also. So isn't this really cool? These little splatters, they just, there you go, camera's catching up. They're like little water splatters. They're just splats. Kind of cool. And on top of that, I'm going to add this little strip of color. And that really cute designer paper. And that's just going to go right along the bottom edge. So even though I made this paper a little bit bigger and that embossing folder didn't go all the way down, well, guess what? I just dressed it up by finishing it off like that. Then I'm going to use this, again, luscious, sparkly glimmer paper. And the nice part about this paper, I think it's not working today. The nice part about this paper is it doesn't shed. Like, it's a thinner paper and it doesn't shed, so you don't end up with glitter everywhere. Put that right over the top there. Okay, and then I'm going to grab a little bit of ribbon. You know me and ribbon. This is just a real red. It's just a cotton ribbon. Nothing exotic, I know. But you know me, I have to use ribbon. I don't know why. I just like the way it gives it more texture, a little bit more, you know, fun stuff, you know. And I'm gonna add my tape first. So I'm gonna put a little bit of tape on that side. Get it off my hand. A little bit of tape on that edge. I want it to go right across the middle. And then I'll tuck it behind. Just gives a little bit more texture to your cards, kind of like dimension. So I like adding the ribbon. It adds a little fabric feel to it. And we're going to need some dimensionals. Looks like I'm getting a little out of them, but here's what we're going to do. We use everything on dimensionals. We don't throw it away. Get some of these extra pieces here. Put one in the middle. All right. Put this off. Grab that card base that we've already got ready for us. We're just going to kind of center this down. Now I'm white on white, but I did add that little bit of texture to it. And it is a little bit smaller than I normally would mat things, so it gives it a nice little bit of a focal, you know, just like a nice little focal there. And then, of course, you can see it's dimensionaled up. Then we're going to get our little otter, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add some dimensionals on that. And I need another one. I don't let anything go to waste here. I use up the whole sheet. Sometimes I use those edges for little thin pieces. And we're just going to pop him right up off to the side just a little bit. Okay. And then we're going to want to get a little bit of a greeting. This is I should have done this first. But just going to grab the "You are utterly awesome." Now, I'm going to peel that off. If you can see, some of my words are cut off. The "you are" is cut off. So that the images, when they're made, because it's a mold. Well, sometimes the cut is offset a little bit, just when they manufacture it. And I wanted to be able to see exactly where my letters started and stopped. So I put my label on, and then I retrimmed my stamp. So I lost a little bit of the words, but it's obviously, it's only on the label. I didn't lose anything on the stamp. I'm just going to get that in black, and I'm going to put this right down on the corner here, right on top of the designer paper. You are utterly awesome. So I should have done that first before I glued it down. And look, super simple. Isn't that fun? So thank you for visiting with me today and making an utterly awesome card. Don't forget that you can certainly make some comments if you have any questions about the card that I made. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so that you get notified when I do additional fun projects like this one today. And of course, sharing my video is always a great compliment, so feel free to do that. You can pop on over to my website at stampersclub.com, and I have lots and lots of ideas over there for you too. You have a great Stamp Happy day. Bye now.